Welcome to Earth and Conquests. My name is Mike. In this episode of Nemesis Battles, a Battlemaster fighter and a Soulknife Rogue defend against a group of flying creatures, including 2 Chimeras and 5 Griffons. The characters attempt to use protective cover and other defensive maneuvers, while the flying creatures attempt to breach through the defenses. The Battlemaster fighter and the Soulknife Rogue are at level 9, using the rules in the 2024 Player's Handbook of Dungeons & Dragons. In the 2025 Monster Manual, the 2 Chimeras are challenge rating 6 creatures, and the 5 Griffons are challenge rating 2 creatures. As with all of the episodes of Nemesis Battles, I will clarify what happens with the game mechanics and the story narrative, while demonstrating in the 3D world builder and virtual tabletop system of RPG stories. For extra details about the characters, in the video text description, you can find the web links for the character sheets in D&D Beyond. You will notice that the Battlemaster fighter and the Soulknife Rogue are optimized in some but certainly not all of their aspects. The Dwarf Battlemaster fighter is named Dorgon Stormforge. He is a dexterity-based combatant using a heavy crossbow. The crossbow expert feat allows to reload the weapon quickly and to fight in close range when needed. The Great Weapon Master feat combined with the Battlemaster maneuvers can cause extra damage and offer creative ways of controlling a battle. Dorgon Stormforge is seeking a new adventure that could bring his life into a more positive direction. Previously, he acted with a group of enforcers for a tyrannical, fire-breathing red dragon. After the dragon was defeated, then Dorgon Stormforge and the other enforcers scattered, later rejoined briefly, and then turned against each other. Dorgon Stormforge vowed never again to work with this group or with anyone else bringing harm into the world. Today, Dorgon Stormforge observed bizarre mutated plant and beast creatures rampaging aggressively through the countryside. He stays at a safe distance for now, at least until he can learn more about what is happening here. Soon the Battlemaster fighter comes across a small farming community, but this place appears to be completely abandoned. Possibly the abandonment relates somehow to these mutated plant and beast creatures. Could some of these mutations be in the forms of the flying creatures prowling in the sky above this abandoned place? Dorgon Stormforge moves to investigate. The Drow Elf Soulknife Rogue is named Gemma Brand. She specializes in covert operations while using her stealth and clever thinking as her primary weapons. When required, Gemma Brand enters into combat using her psychic blades, preferably to attack at a ranged distance, but with the option for a melee contact if it will be needed. Gemma Brand is the last surviving member of a clandestine society, sworn to protect an ancient draconic power, until such a time as when a prophesied individual will emerge to resurrect this ancient power. A draconic sorcerer could have been this prophesied person, but he revealed his true intentions of world domination when he summoned the draconic power into himself. Another team of heroes battled against this sorcerer, and Gemma Brand was there to ensure that the sorcerer was defeated. Later, in secret, she demolished the draconic summoning temple, and now nobody again can abuse this sacred place. Through her relentless research and network of contacts, Gemma Brand learned about other places and people associated with ancient draconic powers. She was drawn to investigate the legendary Dragon's Heart tomb. The tomb was created long ago as a way to contain the heart of an especially potent and hateful dragon. If ever this tomb would be opened, then the dragon's heart could emanate a terrible energy, corrupting and mutating everything that it touches. Gemma Brand could not allow for this dragon's heart tomb to become opened again or to fall into the wrong hands. By the time when she reached to the place of the dragon's heart tomb, though, among this swampland environment, Gemma Brand saw that the tomb already was broken open and threatening the surrounding world. 3 other heroic adventurers moved into action. They repaired and restored the tomb. Gemma Brand observed secretly. She recognized these same 3 individuals who fought against the draconic sorcerer and helped to stop the sorcerer from abusing the ancient draconic power. Continuing with her covert surveillance, Gemma Brand observed while 2 druids came to occupy the area of the Dragon's Heart tomb to revitalize a healthy natural ecosystem and to attract a community of plant and beast creatures dedicated to the protection of this place. Now satisfied that the Dragon's Heart tomb will be safeguarded, the Soulknife Rogue shifted her attention to the nearby farming community, searching for clues about who may have broken open the Dragon's Heart tomb. At the farming community, Gemma Brand finds that nobody remains here. The place has been abandoned, except for the monstrous creatures flying above the area, apparently searching for easy hunting or scavenging of possibly isolated stragglers. These creatures remind Gemma Brand about the beast that mutated with the corrupting energy of the Dragon's Heart tomb. The Soulknife Rogue can surmise that the local farmers wanted to escape from the dangers of the energy seeping out from the Dragon's Heart tomb. Gemma Brand is not concerned about where these people went or whether or not they will return back to here. Rather, she wants to learn who broke open the Dragon's Heart tomb and what could have been this person's motivation. Will Gemma Brand need to stop this person from creating other dangerous situations with ancient draconic powers? At this time, Gemma Brand notices that someone approaches at the outer edge of this abandoned community. Given her passive perception score of 19, the Soulknife Rogue can detect the approaching individual at a far distance. The person appears to be a dwarf, wearing adventuring gear and armed with a heavy crossbow. Instinctively, Gemma Brand moves to hide inside the nearest building. She rolls a stealth skill check. She rolls 31. She is hidden for now, technically with the invisible condition for as long as she will be hidden. With the successful stealth skill check, Gemma Brand hides inside this building. The place resembles a community tavern. In a secure hiding place, the Soulknife Rogue observes the approaching individual. She recognizes that Dorgon Stormforge was an ally of the draconic sorcerer who tried to absorb an ancient draconic power for himself, but then was defeated. Gemma Brand is suspicious of what Dorgon Stormforge could be doing here in close proximity to another dangerous draconic power of the Dragon's Heart tomb. The Battlemaster fighter, Dorgon Stormforge, pauses while studying the environment. He rolls a perception skill check. With a roll of 1, Dorgon Stormforge notices only that the houses and the farms are in excellent condition, with no signs of decay or erosion, probably because they were abandoned very recently. The perception skill check of 1 is insufficient to detect that the Soulknife Rogue is hiding in this vicinity, with her much higher stealth skill check roll of 31. Dorgon Stormforge is aware, though, that the flying creatures in the air begin to descend closer toward the ground. In this case, the Battlemaster fighter moves toward the nearest building where he aims to seek cover to avoid a possible hostile encounter with these creatures. He does not yet know that the Soulknife Rogue happens to be hiding inside here. Continuing with her successful stealth skill check, Gemma Brand moves away from the front door where the Battlemaster probably will enter at any moment. Instead, the rogue moves near the back door. She opens the back door just enough to allow for her to escape whenever might be needed. Her stealth skill check continues to apply, technically with the invisible condition. In this moment, Gemma Brand notices shadows moving on the ground outside the building. The flying creatures are descending rapidly and converging around this spot. The approaching creatures are runaway monstrosities mutated by the emanation of the Dragon's Heart tomb. The creatures are 2 Chimeras and 5 Griffons. Their passive perception scores are 18 for the Chimeras and 15 for the Griffons. They are unaware of the hidden Soulknife Rogue with her stealth skill check of 31, but they are aware of the Battlemaster fighter walking in the open view. The creatures move to attack. All of the participants here roll for initiative. The Battlemaster fighter rolls 24. The Soulknife Rogue rolls with advantage due to the invisible condition while hidden, with a result of 25. The 2 Chimeras roll 6 and 12. The 5 Griffons roll 19, 21, 22, 8, and 20. The 2 adventurers were fortunate with the initiative rolls. The Soulknife Rogue will act first, followed by the Battlemaster, then 4 of the Griffons, 1 Chimera, 1 more Griffon, and then the other Chimera. In round 1, the Soulknife Rogue Gemma Brand steps out from her hiding place while throwing a psychic blade at the Chimera nearest to the front of the building and barely within the attack range of 60 feet. The attack roll is with advantage due to the invisible condition of being hidden, and then this attack immediately will break the invisible condition. With advantage, the attack roll of 24 hits against the Chimera's armor class of 14. With all but 1 die 6 of the sneak attack, the psychic blade causes 20 psychic damage. The 1 die 6 was withheld for a cunning strike, using the trip option. The Chimera rolls a dexterity saving throw to avoid being tripped. The result of 5 fails. The Chimera is knocked prone. Without a hover feature while flying, the Chimera falls to the ground, sustaining 14 bludgeoning damage with the fall and landing in the prone condition. The Chimera retains 80 of its total 114 hit points. Gemma Brand uses the remainder of her movement to find cover. As a bonus action, she attempts to hide. She rolls another stealth skill check. A roll of 27 indicates that she is hidden, technically with the invisible condition, at least for now. The Battlemaster fighter, Dorgon Stormforge, did not see who attacked the Chimera. In this moment, though, he is content to know that at least 1 apparent ally is with him in this fight. Dorgon Stormforge aims his heavy crossbow at the prone Chimera. He launches 2 crossbow bolts, rolling with disadvantage while attacking a prone target beyond the 5 feet distance. With the disadvantage, the first attack roll is 26, hitting against the armor class of 14. The attack causes 14 piercing damage, and it applies the push weapon mastery automatically to push the target back 10 feet. The Chimera is pressed back against a nearby structure. The Battlemaster adds a menacing attack, forcing the Chimera to roll a wisdom saving throw. A result of 6 fails, and the Chimera becomes frightened of the Battlemaster until the end of the Battlemaster's next turn. Additionally, regardless of succeeding or failing the saving throw, the Chimera suffers another 3 piercing damage. The second disadvantage attack roll with the heavy crossbow is 14, sufficient to hit against the armor class of 14. The crossbow bolt delivers 16 piercing damage. The Battlemaster decides to apply the slow weapon mastery, slowing the Chimera by 10 feet. The Chimera now retains 47 of its total 114 hit points. Dorgon Stormforge decides to use his action surge, gaining another 2 attacks, aiming his heavy crossbow at the prone and wounded Chimera. A disadvantage attack roll of 15 hits against the armor class of 14. The crossbow bolt causes 18 piercing damage. The Battlemaster decides to apply the Sap Weapon Mastery, imposing disadvantage on the Chimera's next attack roll. The Chimera already is pushed back against a structure, but the Battlemaster wants to apply the pushing attack anyway for another 7 piercing damage. Nonetheless, the Chimera cannot be pushed farther away at this time. The final attack roll with the heavy crossbow is 23, hitting the Chimera once more. The crossbow bolt causes 17 piercing damage. Again, the Battlemaster applies the pushing attack, only for the extra damage in this case. The maneuver adds 7 points of piercing damage. The Chimera falls with 0 hit points. It has been defeated. Later, when I edited this video, I noticed that the Battlemaster could have used his Great Weapon Master feat immediately after reducing an opponent to 0 hit points to make another attack as a bonus action, using the Great Weapon of his heavy crossbow. This part could have changed a little bit about this first round of the combat. Dorgon Stormforge moves into the nearby building. As an object interaction, he closes the front door behind himself. One Griffon is next to act. It knows that the Soulknife Rogue moved into a nearby building, although the Rogue is hidden at this time. The Griffon flies toward the door, and it gains a line of sight at the Rogue. In this case, the Rogue no longer is hidden from this opponent. The Griffon needs to move at half of its speed to squeeze with its large size through this doorway. It makes 2 rend attacks at the Rogue. The first attack roll is 23, hitting against the armor class of 17. The rend causes 10 piercing damage, and the Rogue automatically is grappled. The second rend attack roll is 18, hitting again and causing 5 piercing damage. The Griffon moves at half of its speed while grappling the Rogue, and the speed is halved again when squeezing through the doorway. The Griffon manages to carry the Rogue outside the building. It begins to fly upward with the grappled Rogue. Another Griffon flies forward to attack the Soulknife Rogue. Its first rend attack roll is 20, hitting against the armor class of 17. The rend causes 10 piercing damage. The second rend attack roll is 23, hitting again and bringing another 10 piercing damage. The Rogue uses her reaction with an uncanny dodge to reduce the damage by half down to 5. I am interpreting that while one Griffon already is grappling the Rogue with its 2 front claws, then another Griffon cannot find enough space for a second grapple. The Soulknife Rogue Gemmabrand retains only 27 of her total 57 hit points. She will need to think quickly in order to survive this battle. One Griffon flies toward the building where the Battlemaster fighter had entered and had closed the front door. The Griffon cannot open the door. It can, though, attempt to break down the door with its 2 rend attacks. I am treating the door as a medium-sized structure with armor class of 12 and 10 hit points. The first rend attack roll is 17, hitting against the door's armor class of 12 and causing 9 piercing damage. The second rend attack roll is 16, hitting again and causing 12 piercing damage. The door is broken down. The Battlemaster technically is standing in the space where the door would fall down. I am allowing a dexterity saving throw to avoid being hit by the falling door. A roll of 13 succeeds, and the Battlemaster moves away just in time to avoid being hit. The Griffon already used its movement to reach to this point, and it holds its position, blocking the doorway. Another Griffon flies toward the house containing the Battlemaster. It cannot squeeze to fit through the doorway that currently is blocked. In this case, the Griffon attacks the roof of the building. I am treating the roof as a gargantuan structure with armor class of 12 and 40 hit points. The first rend attack roll is 8. It deflects off the roof's armor class of 12. The second rend attack roll is 21, connecting into the roof. The rend causes 7 piercing damage. Inside the building, Dorgon Stormforge ascertains that the roof could withstand another few attacks of the same intensity. The second Chimera growls and screeches with its animal heads, seeking vengeance against the Battlemaster for defeating the other Chimera. This Chimera attacks the damaged roof, attempting to destroy it entirely. It begins with a ram attack. The attack roll of 20 hits against the roof's armor class of 12. It causes 13 bludgeoning damage. The second attack is with a bite. The attack roll of 23 hits the roof. The bite causes 8 piercing damage. The Chimera loses its patience with the roof. Instead of making its final attack with a claw, the Chimera decides to unleash its fire breath in a 15-foot cone. As a structure, the roof does not make a dexterity saving throw, and it is engulfed with the full amount of 29 fire damage. The roof collapses. I am treating it as a collapsed roof trap. The Battlemaster rolls a dexterity saving throw to avoid some of the falling debris. A result of 12 fails. The collapsing debris causes 19 bludgeoning damage. I realize that the Battlemaster could have used his Indomitable feature to re-roll the saving throw. I'm allowing it now, but the editing is outside the sequence with the dice roller. Adding the fighter level of 9 to the re-roll, the saving throw of 31 succeeds. Dorgon Stormforge suffers only half of the collapsing roof damage, reduced down to 9 bludgeoning damage. Due to the Chimera's fire breath, I am treating this area as an inferno, so far restricted to an initial 10-foot cube in the center of the original fire damage. The Battlemaster is inside this area, and immediately he suffers 17 fire damage. The inferno could spread whenever it may be exposed to a strong wind, such as with the combined force of the beating wings of the Chimera and the nearby Griffons. Other rules apply with the inferno, and I will clarify whenever they will become relevant. The last Griffon swoops down to attack the exposed Battlemaster. When it enters into the inferno, however, it automatically suffers 26 fire damage. The Griffon makes 2 rend attacks. The first attack roll is a natural 20, scoring a critical hit. The damage dice are doubled. The critical hit causes 13 piercing damage. The Battlemaster automatically is grappled. The second rend attack roll is 13, missing against the armor class of 17. While grappling the Battlemaster, the Griffon can move only at half of its speed. It can fly just enough to move above the height of the Inferno. At the end of round 1, the Battlemaster fighter and the Soulknife Rogue manage to defeat one Chimera, but then quickly they sustain serious damage. The other Chimera and all 5 of the Griffons remain in the combat, currently with an upper hand against these 2 adventurers. In round 2, the Soulknife Rogue, Gemma Brand, starts her turn with 27 of her total 57 hit points. She is grappled by a Griffon in the process of flying upward. As a bonus action, Gemma Brand uses her Psychic Teleportation feature. She rolls 1d8. A result of 4 indicates that the Soulknife Rogue can throw a Psychic Blade out to 40 feet. Gemma Brand psychically teleports into this location as part of the bonus action. She uses her regular movement to enter into a storage shed. She needs to use her action to dash for the movement to squeeze and to fit into a small space behind cover. She notices an empty barrel that could be useful for her later. Right now, though, she uses an interaction with an object to maneuver the lid of the barrel for extra cover so that the Griffons or Chimera cannot attack her directly. The Battlemaster fighter, Dorgon Stormforge, starts his turn with 46 of a total 85 hit points. He is grappled by a flying Griffon. With the crossbow expert feat, Dorgon Stormforge can ignore the usual disadvantage when attacking within 5 feet of a target. He makes 2 attacks against the Griffon that is grappling him. The first attack roll is 20, hitting against the armor class of 12. The crossbow bolt causes the minimum of 10 piercing damage. The push weapon mastery pushes the Griffon back 10 feet, and the grappled Battlemaster moves with the Griffon. With this attack, the Battlemaster applies a trip attack maneuver. The maneuver adds 7 piercing damage, and the Griffon rolls a strength saving throw. A result of 13 fails. The Griffon falls down into the prone condition. In this particular situation, I am interpreting that the grapple is broken. The Griffon and the Battlemaster both fall onto each other. They both suffer half of the 5 bludgeoning damage of the fall, and they both are in the prone condition. Dorgon Stormforge uses half of his movement to stand up from the prone condition. As a bonus action, he uses his second wind. He regains 11 hit points. He uses the tactical shift option to move up to half his speed without opportunity attacks. He moves at half of his speed while climbing out of the overturned tavern tables. He uses the remainder of his movement to continue climbing up to reposition himself along the top edge of the exposed wall of the building. The Battlemaster makes his second attack with a heavy crossbow, aiming at the wounded Griffon, rolling with disadvantage against the prone target at this range. The disadvantage attack roll of 13 hits against the armor class of 12. The crossbow bolt delivers the maximum 19 piercing damage. The Griffon drops to 0 hit points. It has been defeated. After reducing a target to 0 hit points, the Battlemaster fighter could use a bonus action to make another attack with his Great Weapon Master feat, but he already used his bonus action with his second wind feature. One Griffon flies toward the storage shed where the Soulknife Rogue is behind cover. Given the size of the Griffon, it cannot reach into the space to attack the Rogue. In this case, the Griffon attacks the shed. I am treating the shed as a huge structure with armor class of 12 and 30 hit points. The first rend attack roll is 13, hitting the shed and causing 5 piercing damage. The second rend attack roll is 14, hitting the shed again and causing another 9 piercing damage. The shed remains intact, at least for now. Another Griffon flies over to attack the shed. The first rend attack roll is 21, hitting the target and producing 11 piercing damage. The second rend attack roll is 20, hitting once more and causing another 11 piercing damage. The shed is broken. The Soulknife Rogue rolls a dexterity saving throw to avoid the falling debris. A result of 23 succeeds. Moreover, with the evasion feature and a successful dexterity saving throw, the rogue avoids any damage. Another Griffon flies around the broken tavern building, moving to attack the Battlemaster. The first rend attack roll is 16, missing against the Battlemaster's armor class of 17. The second rend attack roll is 17, hitting the target. The rend causes 11 piercing damage, and the Battlemaster automatically is grappled. The Griffon uses its remaining movement to fly upward, moving at half speed while carrying the grappled Battlemaster. At this time, Dorgon Stormforge retains 44 of his total 85 hit points. One more Griffon converges to attack the Battlemaster. The first rend attack roll is 25, hitting the target and bringing 5 piercing damage. The second rend attack roll is 8, missing the target. In its high vantage point, the Chimera surveys the battlefield. The Chimera inhales deeply, attempting to recharge its fire breath. With a result of 2, the fire breath does not recharge at this time. Due to the strong wind produced by the combined beating wings of the Chimera and the nearby Griffons, the flames of the Inferno expand into another 10-foot cube. The Chimera flies toward the grappled Battlemaster, but it cannot find enough space to attack while the 2 large-sized Griffons are around the target. Without the fire breath recharge, the Chimera lacks another ranged combat option. The Chimera can see the Soulknife Rogue as a potential target, but the distance is too far for the Chimera to reach into melee contact. In this case, the Chimera uses the dash action. It ends its turn directly adjacent to the Soulknife Rogue. At the end of round 2, the situation is grim for the 2 adventurers. The Battlemaster Fighter and the Soulknife Rogue probably cannot survive another round of this combat unless they somehow can develop a new plan. In round 3, the Soulknife Rogue, Gemma Brand, starts her turn with 27 of her total 57 hit points. She is surrounded by dangerous enemies. Rapidly, she observes the empty barrel next to her, using her passive perception score of 19 and her passive investigation score of 20. As her action, Gemma Brand uses her Drow Elf spellcasting feature to cast the spell Darkness without using a spell slot, available once per long rest. With her concentration for the next 10 minutes, Gemma Brand creates a magical darkness in a radius of 15 feet, centered on the empty barrel next to her. As a bonus action, Gemma Brand attempts to hide, specifically aiming to hide inside the barrel that she made sure to observe just before casting the darkness spell. She uses her interaction with an object to close the lid over the barrel. With a result of 30, Gemma Brand succeeds with this procedure, technically with the invisible condition. She gains full cover while she is inside the closed barrel. The Chimera could not make an opportunity attack when the rogue moved because the darkness spell prevented from seeing the rogue. The Battlemaster Fighter, Dorgon Stormforge, saw a brief glimpse of his mysterious ally in this combat before the casting of the darkness spell. The rogue spied on him previously, but he was unaware of who this person could be. The Battlemaster starts his turn with 39 of his total 85 hit points. He is grappled by a Griffon that is carrying him upwards into the air. With the crossbow expert feat, the Battlemaster makes regular attack rolls against the Griffon that is grappling him. The first attack roll is 14, hitting against the armor class of 12. The crossbow bolt delivers 13 piercing damage. With the push weapon mastery of the heavy crossbow, I am allowing the Battlemaster to depart from the official game rules to attempt something different here. He rolls an acrobatics skill check not to break the grapple, but rather to maneuver his crossbow within the grapple. A roll of 28 succeeds. He manages to maneuver the push weapon mastery in such a way as for the Griffon and himself to be pushed downward 10 feet. Again using the heavy crossbow, the second attack roll is 26, hitting the Griffon. The hit brings another 15 piercing damage. Once more, the Battlemaster rolls an acrobatics skill check to attempt this unorthodox downward push. A result of 17 succeeds. The Battlemaster is behaving outside the official game rules. Continuing with this trend, I am interpreting that the push brings the Griffon and the Battlemaster into contact with the top of the tavern wall, and then they both fall down to the adjacent ground. I am interpreting that the grapple has been broken. Other people might disagree. The Griffon and the Battlemaster both suffer half of the falling damage for a total of 4 bludgeoning each. They both land in the prone condition. Dorgon Stormforge uses half of his movement to stand up from the prone condition. As a bonus action, he uses his second wind feature. He regains another 11 hit points, now with 46 of his total 85 hit points. As part of the second wind, the Battlemaster uses his tactical shift option to move up to half of his speed without provoking opportunity attacks. He moves into the area of the darkness spell. One Griffon screeches and flies into the area of the darkness spell. It is unsure about where it might happen to bump into the rogue or the Battlemaster. Currently, the Rogue is hidden inside a barrel with full cover, the Battlemaster is not hidden, and the Griffon's passive perception of 15 allows to ascertain the general space of the Battlemaster. The Griffon makes 2 rend attacks with disadvantage in the darkness. The first disadvantage attack roll is 9, missing against the armor class of 17. The second disadvantage attack roll is 24, hitting the Battlemaster. The rend causes 10 piercing damage, and the Battlemaster automatically is grappled. The Griffon uses the remainder of its movement to fly upward at half of its speed while carrying the Battlemaster above the darkness spell. The Griffon releases the grapple. The Battlemaster falls, suffering 5 bludgeoning damage, landing prone, and retaining only 31 of his total 85 hit points. The next Griffon repeats the same approach. In this case, though, the disadvantage of attacking in the darkness is cancelled by the advantage of attacking a prone target within 5 feet. The first attack roll is 23, hitting against the armor class of 17. The rend causes 12 piercing damage, and the Battlemaster is grappled once more. The second rend attack roll is 21, hitting the Battlemaster again. The rend causes 9 piercing damage. The Griffon carries the grappled Battlemaster upward and sideways away from the darkness spell, moving at half of its speed until it releases the grapple. The Battlemaster falls to the ground, suffering 8 bludgeoning damage, landing in the prone condition, and retaining only 2 of his 85 hit points. The wounded Griffon uses half of its speed to stand up from the prone condition. It uses the remainder of its speed to fly upward and around the darkness spell and a water well. The Griffon needs to use its dash action to move far enough to reach into melee contact with the Battlemaster. One more Griffon flies toward the Battlemaster. This Griffon needs to use its dash action as well, ending its turn in melee contact with the prone Battlemaster. The Chimera flies upward, moving outside the darkness spell. It attempts to recharge its fire breath. With a roll of 5, the Chimera regains its potentially deadly fire breath. The Chimera knows that it cannot find enough space to attack the Battlemaster, who is surrounded by 2 large-sized Griffons. With its passive perception score of 18, the Chimera does not notice any sign of where the Rogue could be hiding within the darkness spell, given the Rogue's stealth skill check of 30 and her position behind total cover inside a barrel and surrounded by the darkness spell. The Chimera decides to use its recharged fire breath, releasing a 15-foot cone of fire into the darkness area. The Rogue is behind total cover and cannot be affected at this time. Nonetheless, the fire breath ignites the wood debris and the barrels into an inferno. The Rogue is protected for now, but she could suffer serious damage during her next turn if she will enter into the flames. At the end of round 3, the encounter is going badly for the 2 adventurers. They are surrounded by powerful enemies, and they might not survive another round of this combat. In round 4, the Soulknife Rogue, Chimeras, starts her turn with 27 of her total 57 hit points. She hides inside a barrel, but the barrel is inside an inferno. Chimeras uses an interaction with an object to open the lid of the barrel. She uses some of her movement to step into the surrounding area of the inferno and her darkness spell. When she enters into the inferno, the Rogue suffers 17 fire damage, and she is subjected to a burning hazard. Until she can douse the burning, she will be exposed to 1d4 fire damage at the start of each of her next turns. With the fire damage, Chimeras rolls a Constitution saving throw to concentrate on her darkness spell. Her result of 12 succeeds, and the darkness continues. Now with only 10 of her total 57 hit points, Chimeras relies on her memories of her surroundings and her passive perception score of 19 to ascertain where the flying creatures are beating their wings outside the darkness spell. The Soulknife Rogue moves out from the darkness spell while throwing a psychic blade at the Chimera. She makes the attack with advantage due to her prior stealth skill check of 30 while inside the darkness. The attack roll is a natural 20, scoring a critical hit. The damage dice are doubled for the psychic blade and the sneak attack, producing a total of 54 psychic damage. Chimeras uses her little bit of remaining movement to step back into the darkness area. As a bonus action, she attempts to hide among the space where she remembers seeing potential cover. She rolls a stealth skill check. A roll of 32 indicates that she is hidden with the invisible condition. The Battlemaster fighter, Dorgon Stormforge, starts his turn with only 2 of his total 85 hit points. He is in the prone condition, directly threatened by 2 Griffons in melee contact and aware of other enemies flying in the surrounding area. The Battlemaster uses half of his movement to stand up from the prone condition. As a bonus action, he uses his final second wind. He regains 17 hit points. With the tactical shift option, immediately he can move half of his speed without provoking opportunity attacks. He uses his remaining movement to find a clear line of sight to aim his heavy crossbow at the Chimera. He makes 2 attacks. The first attack roll is 16, hitting against the armor class of 14. The attack causes the maximum 19 piercing damage. The Battlemaster decides to apply the slow weapon mastery, slowing the Chimera's speed by 10 feet. Dorgon Stormforge makes his second attack with the heavy crossbow. The attack roll is 14, hitting against the armor class of 14. The crossbow bolt produces 16 piercing damage. the Battlemaster decides to apply the Sap weapon mastery, imposing disadvantage on the Chimera's next attack roll. With the successful hit, Dorgon Stormforge applies his final remaining Battlemaster maneuver of a trip attack. The maneuver adds 2 piercing damage, and the Chimera rolls a strength saving throw. A roll of 7 fails. The Chimera falls, suffering 4 bludgeoning damage and landing in the prone condition. In its fallen position, the Chimera enters into the zone of the Inferno, and it is subjected to 24 points of fire damage. The Chimera releases a final defiant roar that fades into a painful groan and then into nothingness. The Chimera has been defeated. The 2 Chimeras and 1 Griffon are on the ground, motionless. Another Griffon has been wounded severely, and now it moves to disengage from this situation. The remaining Griffons are discouraged, and they disengage from the combat. They screech while they fly up into the sky, seeking easier prey elsewhere. The Battlemaster Fighter and the Soulknife Rogue narrowly survive this encounter. The Soulknife Rogue, Gemmabrand, douses the fire-causing or burning condition. She relies on her stealth to move away from this scene and to avoid direct interaction with the Battlemaster. She can surmise that the Battlemaster was not involved with the breaking open of the Dragon's Heart tomb and the mutation of the plant and beast creatures in this region. The Battlemaster Fighter, Dorgon Stormforge, wonders what happened here. He does not know who was this person helping him during the combat. He does not know what caused the Chimeras and the Griffons to enact their rampage. Regardless of the cause, he decides that he will hunt down the runaway Griffons and any other such monstrosities before they could harm anyone else. This new mission could give Dorgon Stormforge the opportunity that he is seeking towards shifting his life into a more positive and heroic direction. While searching through the countryside, Dorgon Stormforge meets with the farmers who had abandoned their homes and started to migrate toward a new place to live. The farmers share the story about how someone broke open the Dragon's Heart tomb, releasing a terrible energy that corrupted and mutated the surrounding region. A wandering hunter leads the farmers out to another place of healthy and productive lands. They no longer will provide the food supply for the Spellsword Academy, and instead they will live in the lands surrounding another kind of magical place. The Soulknife Rogue, Gemmabrand, confirms that the Dragon's Heart tomb remains safe under the protection of 2 druids and a healthy community of friendly plant and beast creatures. No further threat is evident here, and the problem has been solved. At this time, Gemmabrand wants to learn who caused the problem in the first place, and whether or not this person might pose other threats. Our story will continue with Nemesis Battles. For now, in the comment section, please share your ideas and suggestions about what could have happened differently and what could happen next. As always, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.